Hey everyone. So Copilot for Microsoft 365 works in your apps. Copilot Chat works outside of them. It's like choosing between room service and a drive-through. You'll get what you need. You're just going to have a different experience. And Heidi is here to explain that all to us today.
That's a great analogy, honestly. Copilot is the word of the year from Microsoft. I mean, it has been for the last year and a half or 2 years at least. And, I've been working a lot with it, and I just wanted to do some demystification of it. If you have learned nothing about Copilot, like this episode is for you. Like we are going to tell you what you need to know. If you've learned nothing about it, this is where you should start. So today I want to actually just share and go through the Copilot chat interface and talk a little bit about that, what it includes, and then also go through, how it's different from the M365 one and do some demos. So let me share my screen here. All right. So first thing is when you, as a M365 user, you log in to office.com, you may have noticed that you recently are now sent to a screen that looks like this. So this is your Copilot screen, and it might have even looked different in the previous 2 weeks. Like this just got a major facelift within the last week or two, and now what you're looking at is really the Copilot launch screen, which has kind of replaced the office.com launch screen. So another thing that users may have noticed right away is that the top left, we've been telling people to go to the top left to go to the waffle menu for the longest time. They've relocated that waffle menu into an apps section, and I'll go over that. But that's really the first thing is we're noticing is the top left is missing that waffle screen to get to your other apps. But what I do want to talk through what's over here on the left side, and let's collapse this so it looks a little bit more compact here. So starting on the left side, let's take a look at what we can find in M365 Copilot. And just to set the stage again, this is not the room service version. This is the drive-through food. We have not paid for that additional M365 Copilot license. This is the Copilot that is included in your M365 subscription. So really this is kind of the free version, they're calling it. And that's our drive-through food here. So first thing is search. So search is, if you go to SharePoint and you search, it's really just an enterprise search function. Same thing here for Copilot search. So here I can search for items that live inside my tenant. So as you can see, some of the options that are popping up are just files that are either in my OneDrive or my SharePoint. There's also the people search, and then there's SharePoint sites. So this really hasn't changed. This really doesn't relate too much to Copilot, but it's really just built in a little search interface that used to be located at the top of the Office Launcher screen. So not a whole lot has changed there. So now keep going down the left side. Now we have a chat section. So we click on chat. We're going to go over this last. I'm going to skip over this one. We'll keep going down to the agents. Agents is now the new word of the year. At first it was Copilot, and now it's agents, and now it's agents in Copilot. So what exactly is an agent? We can do multiple future demos and videos on this on what agents are, but essentially an agent is really an AI tool that is trained on your data in some sort of specified facet. So we like to talk about agents as in travel agents. So travel agents are people that are trained in travel destinations, and that's kind of their life. So you, as a non-travel agent, can go to them and ask them, I want to go on a trip that has a beach that is adults only, and here's my budget. What can you give me for ideas? And then they're already trained in that data, so they know and they can give you those options. That's what an agent is. So now we're bringing these into Copilot here, into this Copilot launcher screen. So over here, there's a couple options. You can explore agents. So if we click on that, they have given some pre-built agents, Microsoft has. For example, like researcher, analyst, these are some of those deep reasoning agents, or even simple things like writing coach, or how to improve my prompts, or even a visual creator agent. You can do image generation without this agent, but this one gives you a little bit more control over what you can do with it. And then there's also some other featured one down here. Note on this though, this does require that room service license, that M365 Copilot license, because if I click on one of these like analyst, it's going to put right at the top that to use this app, you'll need the M365 Copilot license. So you won't really be able to use these, but I wanted to show you what is here. You can, however, use this create agent. And this is the backend to this is Copilot Studio. So based on the Microsoft licensing that you have, you'll be able to go ahead and create this agent with Copilot Studio. And again, we are building an agent, or we're building that little mini travel agent that's built into our M365 environment that we can ask questions about. And then we can train it on things that live within our M365 environment. Our meeting minutes, our project documents, our, quarterly goals or anything like that. We can kind of train our agents to connect to those things and then ask questions of that. Again, we can do a whole slew of episodes on this, so I'm going to keep going just to get through the Copilot window, but that's kind of the agent spiel. So moving on here, we have conversations, and this is where we'll go into the chat, skipping over that one for now. The next thing is pages, and pages is a place that you can store the results of your prompts. So I'm just going to click on all pages here. This is really just if OneNote and Loop had a child, this is kind of what it would be right now, is this Pages app. So once Microsoft saw that people were using Copilot to prompt, and then it gives that nice response. Like, what if they want to keep that response and actually work from that? Like, if they want to put some follow-ups to that, some to-do items, or collaborate with others on those outputs, that is what this Pages is built for. So I ran a prompt earlier, and I'll click on this. This is my page from the one I ran earlier. And the prompt here was just give me a concise summary of recent news about Microsoft Copilot, bold the title of each article, include the domain and the date published, and then group them by sentiment. So then Copilot went out to the internet, the publicly available data that we have access to, and formatted it like I asked it to, and we dropped all this on page, and it grouped it by positive news sentiment here and neutral news. But now I kind of have this interactive page that I can use those loop components to actually build off of this. So if you see, as I'm hovering my mouse over the articles, you'll see the plus sign that's popping up. If I click on that, that will give me a menu of loop components that I can add. So I click on that again. So here are those components, like a table, or I could add in like a task list. There's a whole bunch of different styling options and templates. There's even like templates for Kanban boards and to be able to track things. There's a task list. I believe that this one has Power Automate built into it too. I think that's in preview as well. Maybe not in this tenant, but they've built it in that it will actually send out reminders based on the items in this task list. But now I can, assign this to people in my tenant and build out little tasks. So it's really meant to be that collaborative space that you can store the outputs of your Copilot responses. So closing that, let me close that page there. If I wanted to get back to that, that right in my launcher here, I can just click on that all pages, and then I would have the listing of those pages there. And I will show you when we get into the actual prompting how to add to those pages. So lastly, that kind of covers the chat section. Lastly, there is the create and the apps. So the apps has replaced the waffle menu. So if we click on apps here, you can now see there's all those apps that were in that waffle menu. If you scroll down, you can see all of them by category. So if I wanted to pin something over here that I go to often, which is like SharePoint or Outlook, I just have to find it in my apps, and then I can pin it on the left side. So let me go back up here. I have SharePoint right here. So I can click on the ellipsis, and then I can do pin, and then it's going to be over here in my launcher, and I can easily get to that. I also use OneDrive quite a bit, so I'm going to pin that too. And then also that create button right above it, that is where we can just start new content. So you can, from here, you can start, Excel, Word, anything you need to edit. There's even some designer things that you can start here. And really, just to high level this before we are going to get into prompting, I promise, and I'll show you some demos, but the high level approach to this that Microsoft is taking is that if you want to use Copilot to help you get your work done, you shouldn't have to go to the application that you want to use Copilot in. You need to just go to one place and let Copilot help you. Let Copilot decide for you. You decide your task and then let Copilot help you. That's why they're bringing this all together in the create. They're saying, you can just tell it, I need to create a document, and then Copilot can help you with that. You don't necessarily have to go to Word to open it up and know that that's how you create a document. So that's kind of the alternative approach that Microsoft is taking. With me being in the Copilot field and training, we've trained users to go into those applications. So now we're trying to tell them to pull it back and start here, and then let Copilot help you decide, where you can get these things done. So that is the whole menu tour of the left side here. But let's actually do some Copilot like chat prompts and chats and stuff in here, so you can kind of see what's possible here. So remember that we said that there's Copilot and then Copilot Chat, and then there's M365 Copilot. So Copilot Chat is our drive-through food. Copilot for M365 is the room service. That is the paid version. So in this one, the one limitation to this, the biggest limitation I think between the two, is that this version does not touch your Microsoft Graph. What is the Microsoft Graph? Microsoft Graph is an index of all the things that you have access to in your Microsoft tenant. So think your Teams chats, your emails, your Word documents, Excel documents, things that live in the cloud in SharePoint or OneDrive. That is the Copilot, the paid version can actually leverage all those things, where this version cannot. The core analysis and the root prompt of what it's doing behind the scenes is the same, but the data source is the difference here. So we can still use our OneDrive documents in this version, and I'll show you how we can do that. So just if anyone is confused about which version they're using, I just recommend asking it. So just for starters here, I'm going to ask this if it can reference my OneDrive documents. So I'm just going to say, can you reference my OneDrive files? And then it says, I can't directly access them, however, you can upload them. So now you know that you're using the free version. This does not have access to your M365 graph. But again, that's not a complete limitation. We can get around that a little bit. The second thing I thought that I would try is, okay, so can I just give it a link to that document? So if I go into OneDrive, and then I have like this employee engagement plan. So I'm going to copy that link and then go back to Copilot Chat, and I'll just say summarize this document. And then paste the link to that document in OneDrive. It still gives me the same thing. It says I cannot access your OneDrive or SharePoint, but you can download it and upload it. So it told me that again. So you cannot, again, it doesn't reference it by default. You cannot link to it, but you can download the document and then use it in your prompt. So if I want to do that, I have it downloaded here, which I'm going to pull up. And I'm just going to drag and drop it from my downloads folder into here. So drag it right into there. And now I can say, summarize this document. And you'll know that it's working. I call it resolve. So before, when I put in the link to that document, you see it's just showing me the URL, and it's not actually showing me like the title of it or anything. When it actually is going to work, it's going to resolve and just show you the short name of that. So it's not showing me it's showing me the link when I hover over it here, but it's actually showing me the name of the document here. So that generally means that it's going to be able to work with Copilot here. So now I'm going to, before I do that too, it is warning me here that uploading this will send a copy to OneDrive. So if you do dump anything into there, it is going to upload it to your OneDrive and put it in a folder, and I'll show you where that folder is after we run this. So now we took that document from OneDrive, we downloaded it, and then we uploaded it again to ask Copilot to summarize it. Is that an extra step? Yes, but if you don't have the full-fledged Copilot license, this is definitely a way you can work around for that. So here's my summary. I mentioned that I will show you where it's uploaded to. So if I go back to OneDrive, and then you can see there's a Microsoft Copilot Chat Files folder here. I can click on that, and then that's where it stores all those documents that you've uploaded into Copilot Chat.
Oh, nice.
So that's the, go ahead, Pam.
Oh, I didn't know that. That was nice.
Yep, that's where they're all stored now. So a couple other things you can do is you can save prompts in here. So if I have one that I liked and I want to reuse it, I can hover over the prompt, and then I can click on Save Prompt. And then I could give it a title. I'll just leave it as is for now, and then click Save. And now this is going to add it to, oh no, great. So generally when that works, it will add it to your prompt library, but I'll show you where to find that now. So once I've saved that, I can click on this view prompts here. That's the stars thing with the box. And this is going to open up the prompt gallery. So there's a whole bunch of Microsoft prompts, kind of similar to when Pam did the AI Builder episode, and there was a whole slew of prompts to pick from. Same thing here. They've given you so many different options of prompts and things to try. They've even got them kind of filtered by product or based on or function based on the image that you see there. And then they've also broken this down by task and even for a job type. They're starting to get into some industry specific prompts. So then when I showed you how to do that save prompt, you'll see that under the your prompts here, which it didn't work, but try it on your side and see if it does. And then that's where you can do the saved prompts. And now I'm wondering if that's a limitation of if you need to have the M365 full-blown Copilot license to do that. That could be the issue. So if you try it and that's the issue, that's probably where that lives. So a couple more things is you can see also with the response here that Copilot is suggesting some follow-up items. So it's doing follow-up questions, and then it's also doing follow-up content ideas. So I could, ask it, what are the key metrics in detail? And then it's going to continue to iterate on that initial prompt there and give me some more information. I can keep asking it these questions, and it'll keep giving me these responses. But what's key about this is that this interaction with Copilot that I'm having, I can keep talking to it within the context of this conversation. So when I click this new chat up here and it wipes the screen, then it forgets everything that we just talked about. So this is not training any models. This is not sending any data to Microsoft. So that is why it's okay to work with your work documents in this context, because that enterprise data protection still applies here. If you see the green check up here, that means that this is protected by your Microsoft 365 tenant, and anything that you share in here is protected by that. So you're not actually exposing any of that data externally. So, but as going back to that point, I mentioned that you can continue the context of this conversation. You can give it additional things like, so I don't like that the output that it gave me, so I can say, reformat this to as an executive summary. So, and I am just saying reformat this, so it knows, it knows what this is, because we're still in that context of that conversation there. So now it's going to give me an executive summary of that. And then lastly was the two things left there. One thing is also for these outputs, it says, do you want to create a PDF version or like add visuals to the summary? So this is very new, this feature is. So I said, yes, go ahead and create me a PDF version, and I'll let it do that. It does things like create a slide, create an Excel sheet of this data, but just cautioning that it's very limited in functionality. So if you ask it for like a slide, it'll probably just dump all those bullet points onto a slide, all of them. It doesn't even fit on a slide, and it's just way too much data for it. So don't rely on that for like that feature works much better in the paid version of Copilot, the M365 Copilot, where you can have it create you a PowerPoint presentation, things like that. This free version one is super limited. So here is the PDF that it came up with. So let's just open that up, and you can see, oh, it did a much better job this time. Okay, so maybe it changed like between now and when I ran it before this, but last time it just gave me like a 1 cent on the top. But so this is not as bad. So I take back a little bit about what I said, but this is a nice way to get that output, in a content form.
Yeah, and you make a really good point, like for any AI, but when you're doing your day-to-day work and you're counting on it, like you always want to look at it. Like you never want to just be like, okay, it's done. Don't make that
export
assumption.
to PDF. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So that was, like I said, that was a very quick and dirty overview of just Copilot without the M365 license attached to it. There is just a little bit of prompting guidance too that we've been following. So the prompts that I used here are super vague, and that was just for the sake of this demo. But Microsoft has a really good methodology for constructing prompts, which is the GCSE method. And we can include a link to this in the show notes. But if you just go and search for Microsoft Copilot prompting, GCSE. This is kind of the context of how you can structure your prompts to get the best outputs from Copilot. So the GCSE would be the goal. So give it the, what do you want to get from it? Give it the context, tell it who's involved, give it the source. So this is backwards, GCES, but just give it the source, like tell it where you want it to pull the data from, and then the expectations. So when I reformatted that old prompt and said, write this as an executive summary, that was really the expectation of how I changed my prompt. But the outputs that you're going to get will vary based on the structure of your prompt. And Microsoft has developed Copilot that we all don't need to be prompt engineers, but there is definitely a little bit of guidance. A little bit of guidance can go a long way when you're trying to get the best results from the tool. So check that out and check out your Copilot and see what you can do with it.
Yeah, I like that GCSE. It is very helpful for me. Like I write prompts like I talk, and so just really having a little guide, some guardrails, like not really even guardrails, just like include these things is super helpful if you are like me and struggling with prompt writing.
For sure. Well, that's all we got today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.